What's going on, guys? This is Mike with the 1% Mindset Podcast. I hope you're doing absolutely amazing. I have my guest, my boy Terrell Ray on. What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good, man. Yo, man, first of all, thank you for coming on, man. It's exciting. It's exciting to see, where you started and just you kind of building your fitness business in a very unique way. So I want to talk a little bit about that, but before that, I like to give the audience. I mean, I'd like to give the guest a space to just kind of introduce themselves. So, man, the floor is yours.
So as Mike said, my name is Terrell. I actually known Mike since we were little kids, and I'm grew up, born and raised here in Brooklyn, and always had a sports background. So I played a lot of different sports growing up, and I stuck to basketball. So I went to high school here in Brooklyn. Went to a small Division II college in New Hampshire, and then I played a little bit overseas in Germany. And then once I got back, I was kind of lost and didn't know really what I wanted to do. So I got my sister got me a job at front desk at a fitness facility, and then I've been working in the fitness industry ever since then. That was like 11 years ago. So I've done a lot of different jobs within fitness, but now I'm a personal trainer. I do fitness training as well as like sports specific training too as well.
Nice. So, I mean, let's start at the beginning. So, you did a lot of sports growing up. You kind of stuck with basketball. I know in high school, if I'm not mistaken, you were the number one or two rebounder in the city for a little bit your senior year.
Yeah, my senior year. So I mean, my senior year was like my breakout year. I guess. But it was I also got injured that year too. So it was a very interesting year. It was a weird year, but from there, I mean, I had good enough stats in the games that I played, and my coach, well, my future coach at that point, saw the potential in me, even though he didn't actually get to see me play. And I wind up choosing the school in New Hampshire, which is very different from Brooklyn, but it wind up working out. It's kind of crazy because my coach that I had in college, the game that he came to see me play was the first game that I didn't play after I got hurt. So he didn't know, he never really seen me play. And this is before social media. So I didn't have like a hoops mixtape or anything like that. He just heard about me, and then he came to kind of see me, and then I didn't play, but it still worked out, which is a blessing in itself. So
How was that transition going from Brooklyn, New York, a big city, to going to college for the first time? Where I actually say, like, when you go to college, especially when you go away, that's your real transition from a boy to a man, so to speak.
yeah.
At least that's what it was for me. How was that going from Brooklyn, a big city, to wherever you were in New Hampshire?
I mean, it was a big difference. I mean, the thing for me was in high school, my whole thing was I knew I was not going to go to any school in the city. Like I didn't apply to any colleges in the city. I was like, I gotta leave. Like this is it. Like I knew that this is my time to leave. So, um, I knew that I wanted to get away. I didn't think it was going to be New Hampshire at all, but it was a huge difference. I mean, the school that I went to, my high school, Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn, it was like at that time it was like 5,000 kids. It was one of the most populated schools in the country. And then my college was like 1,700. So it was just a huge difference in that. Within that, like I went from going Brooklyn, a huge city, I mean, to go into like a town, like literally like a town in New Hampshire, in between the mountains. So it was a huge difference, but I was determined to get away. So I was just like, this is my opportunity to just to get away. So I'm gonna do it,
Yeah.
and wind up working out. So
4 years of college, took you across the U.S. And eventually it led you to playing overseas in Germany, right?
hmm.
Most people, especially in Brooklyn, probably many people, probably don't even get out the country, maybe not even get out the city or the state. You
Yeah.
went to a whole new world in Germany. What was that transition like for you?
I mean that transition was. I mean the mindset for that was almost the same thing as me leaving for high school. I mean I knew that I wanted to play overseas, and I knew that I was good enough to play overseas. There were people. in my conference that's played overseas. There were also like people that graduated my school that did too as well. So it wasn't like it was something that for me that was like unattainable, but it was something I knew I wanted to do. I just didn't know the exact process to do it at the time. But for me, I just after I graduated, I just put everything into like go like putting myself out there so I could go play overseas. And it's another situation that was like a huge transition for me too, because the town that I wound up playing in Germany was very small. It was like a very small town, probably less than probably 5,000 people in the entire town. So it was the same situation going from Brooklyn, coming back home, going from Brooklyn to summer of Brooklyn to a small town in Germany. And I didn't know anyone there, didn't know the language, but it still worked out, you know.
What was there any racial components? When you think about, Russia, the Germanys, not like, did you experience any tension in that being overseas, or was there a privilege because you were an athlete? Like, what did that look like?
I mean, where I lived, it wasn't any like racial tension, which was really good. I mean, I was in northwestern Germany, so a lot of people that because I always ask people there, obviously when I was there, and there's a lot of Americans that play there, so a lot of people that don't know about like the overseas market. It's every country has teams, and every team has Americans because those are the best players. So there were like hundreds of Americans playing in Germany. So like I would, we just obviously if we played against each other, we were opponents, but at the same time we had that bond that we were Americans, so we still talked or whatever. And I guess there was a lot of differences between East Germany and West Germany. I didn't really spend much time in East Germany, like Berlin and all that's in East Germany. I didn't really get to spend that much time there, but a lot of people say a lot of the more racial tension is more on the east part of Germany. But where I was at, where like the people were great, like they like took me in because it was a very small town, and obviously they knew that I was American from just the way that I looked or whatever, So they knew when I walked around the town like who I was. So it was like people took me in, like the players were really really good with just like helping me out. People in Germany overall kind of understood English, so it wasn't like had to learn German. Like I kind of understood it after a while, but I didn't speak it. But everyone kind of understood German except for like the older people. They were very strict on staying with their German. Like they would not try to understand English. Even if they did, they didn't care. But like the younger people wanted to speak English. Like so, speaking to me was like their way of learning, and it just worked out, man.
How long were you over there for?
I was there. I was only there for one season, so
Okay.
it was like about like 6 months, 7 months.
Okay. Was there a reason you only did overseas for 1 year? Were you trying to, did like an injury take place? Did you want to try something else? What made you want to come back?
Well, for me, the team that I was with, they had issues. They had like issues not even with us, but they had actually issues with the government. They weren't paying their taxes, so, and they were paying us like under the table, whatever. It was a huge thing. But I mean, I had other offers to come back because I actually played pretty well there. So
Yeah.
I had offers from other countries. And
Yeah.
I just at that point it was just one. A lot of it was the money. Like the money wasn't all that good. It was just a opportunity type of thing for me. Like I knew that I wanted to do it, so I just like checked it off. Like I was able to do it, and then when I got the offers, for other places, I was like, I'd rather the money for the most part. I could just work a regular job here and make more money, but at the same time, it was an experience for me. And yeah, I mean, that pretty much was it. I mean, I had little injuries here that kind of set me back a little bit too, but it was mostly just like for me to stay there and do it for years and years, the money wouldn't have added up.
When it made sense.
Yeah, but like, I mean, coming right out of school, it made sense because I didn't have a
Right.
job. I didn't, I needed, I didn't, my only experience was basketball at that point. So
Yeah. Okay, no, that makes sense. So that's good to know because I think a lot of people, when they play overseas, the sacrifice, if the intention is to be in the NBA, which again, it's a small
yeah,
fraternity that is, I guess, is to work your way so you can be seen there. So for
yeah.
you, is your
I mean,
experience? Go ahead.
I think it depends on who you are, type of thing. Like me personally, I mean, I never had the. It sounds weird, but I never had like the NBA dreams. I think I consider myself very realistic. I knew I wasn't going to make the NBA, but I knew I was good enough to be in certain situations. I knew I was good
Absolutely.
enough in college. I knew I was able to play overseas. And there's people that play overseas that have intentions to go to the NBA, and there's people that don't, and they still make a great amount of money. I mean, I think it's a lot of people that don't really understand how it works, like the market. There's so many teams, so many levels in each country, like that you could play in Germany, play at the top league, and probably make 100,000 a year and be American, and then you could play in like the fourth or fifth league and be American and make $500 a month. Something
Mm,
like that. So it just depends. It just depends between the leagues, countries, levels. So it's a lot.
mm,
It's a lot to it. I mean, it's like thousands of Americans playing all around the world. So
yeah.
every country has teams, and every team wants Americans. So it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. It's like Americans are high demand when it comes to sports.
Good. Okay. Yeah, because I know like a lot of the WNBA athletes, they tend to play overseas
Yeah,
during their off season because a lot of them they make more money in
yeah,
those leagues. So it seems like it's a little bit different, with the
yeah.
women
Yeah,
overseas.
well, yeah, women overseas is bigger. It's because they were bigger before WNBA, and I mean, yeah, you get more money because the season's longer. You have more fans there.
Mm,
Just yeah, just WNBA. I mean, it's caught on. It's gotten a lot better, but it's still hasn't really got to the point of like how it is overseas. How these players, and then when you go overseas, they get their own apartment. They get a car, transportation, they get food, their restaurant might give them something. It's a
yeah.
lot, it's a lot to it. And the money that they get is tax free. So
Ah,
it's a
okay.
lot, it's a lot too. That's why I would say almost all WNBA players play overseas at some point because that's where the real money is for them at least.
Makes sense. So all right, so transitioning then a little bit. So you have this experience for a year. You do high school, you do college, you play overseas, you come back to the States now. You said, you're kind of done. You want to get into doing something else, and your sister gets you a job at a fitness center working front desk for a
Yeah.
little bit, right? Kind of talk to me what happens there because from the front desk to now having your own business and having your own clients is a long journey. So how long were you there? And I recently saw a tweet that you put up, or maybe it was on Instagram, where you said, I've gone on like 100 interviews. I've been fired from jobs. I've done all of these things. And, you have all this experience in the fitness space. It seems like in all different areas and all different avenues, right? Like what kind of take me on that journey and how you stumbled upon like fitness training.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's kind of a long story. So once I started at the front desk, I tried to figure out what I wanted to do. And at that point, I mean, I really wasn't really into working out. Obviously, I was into fitness, I was into sports, but like actual training, I really wasn't into that. Even when I was playing basketball, I mean, I did it, but it wasn't something that like I love to do.
Yeah,
So
of course.
once I got there, I was like, I got to figure out what I'm going to do. My major was business management. And I knew that I was probably going to do something like sales or, because that's usually how you get in for the most part, especially in New York, like a sales job or, any kind of like position like that. So at the place where I was at, I used to see these salespeople, the membership sales, like people that were selling these memberships for the gym.
Of
And
course.
I really I was like, okay, this is something I could do. Like, I don't consider myself a salesperson, but I could sell the gyms. Like I'm here all the time. I know what I'm talking about. I could talk to people. And I was like, all right, this is what I wanted to do. So I went to the interview. This is like after I first came out of college. So I really didn't have any experience doing sales or anything like that. And went on the interview, and the woman was like, you're really good. I know you from the gym, but we just don't have the experience yet. And it was a very high end gym. It was Equinox, so it's a high end gym, whatever. And so I was like, all right, whatever. And then while I worked there, I would just try to find a job. So I would just go on interviews. Like I would probably go on like 5 to 7 interviews a week. Just so
Wow.
anything, like go on you Craigslist, like anything they were just taking positions, like just go just because I never really been in an interview. So like I just want to experience what this is like like the good and bad. Like, a
Absolutely.
lot of them, they tell you like why, what they like about you, what they don't like. So I would just go on an interview. So within like the first, I would say I came back, it was, yeah, for like the first 6 months, I went on so many interviews and I got like jobs here or there, but it would be like door-to-door sales for like, one of them was like door-to-door sales to like ask people for money for ASPCA, like stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, all right, this I can't, I tried, and I was like, I can't do. Like one of them was like, stand on the corner and you ask, like there was a hairdresser. She was like, it was a guy. He was like very famous. Like he was known for like, I guess he did like Miss America or someone like that. And you had to like go in the corner and like approach women and then have them purchase like a session with this guy. Like, and I tried so much stuff, and I was like, yo, I can't do this. Like I can't. Like I'm just going to these interviews and I'm not finding anything that sticks. And then one of my old roommates from college, they lived in Boston, and they had an extra roommate, like an extra room available. And it was like 6 months in, and I really couldn't find anything. And they were like, just come to Boston. If you could find a job, like you could stay in this room. If you find a job, then you could just move here. So I went to Boston, and within 2 weeks, I found a job. So
Was that in the fitness space as well?
yeah, so the job was membership sales, but it was easier to get it in Boston because the gym that they had there, what they have them here is like, New York Sports Club. It was Boston Sports Club, but the way that they have their membership sales is like they want to get kids right out of college because they teach you everything. So I found that job within 2 weeks. So I packed up, I moved to Boston. I was like, all right, I got it. I got a job. So I got to get something on my resume. So I did that. And the difference between them, like Equinox is for people that are more experienced. So like it's usually people that have done the job for years. They just come in and do it because they don't really train you like that. But this one is the Boston Sports Club. The way they did it was you got to go through a 1 month training, no matter who you are. So they wanted kids right out of college. So it just worked out. So I did the training there. I got into doing membership sales. I was there for a year. I mean, I love Boston. I go there. I've been going there since I was like 18, since college or whatever. But after I did a year, I was like, all right, I'm going back to New York. Like I got the experience I need. Like this is it. I'm going back.
So your intention was never to stay there. You took that to get
wanted to get the experience because I mean, just going on. I literally within like a 6 month span, I would say I went on maybe 50 interviews, and wow. I didn't find anything that that I thought was worthy of me like starting, or they just didn't. They all said the same thing. Like you just need the experience doing this job. So
by that time, did you know you want to stay within the fitness space? Is that where you narrowed it down to, or you were still open to different things? Because it seems like it was all fitness.
Well, I mean, most of the interviews I went for weren't fitness related, but okay. I did know that I wanted to do the fitness stuff from working at Equinox. So I did apply for some of those, but that's not. I was just looking for anything and any kind of business related. So like sales or I've worked at like a wine, selling wine shit like over the phone. Like I've done a lot of stuff, and it was just because for me it's like if someone at that point I didn't have any other choice. I mean, I had really no other option. So it was like if they were like, oh yeah, you could start tomorrow, I would just start it just to see if I really I knew I wasn't gonna like it, but just to see. So just so I could say that I don't like it, I would just try it, and then if I didn't, I would just be like, all right, they'll either fire me or or I'll just leave because I'm like, I can't see myself doing this. So once I got the job in Boston, well, in Boston, that's mostly what I was looking for. I was like, they have a lot of gyms there, so I was gonna try to do that. And then I got in that position doing the sales, and I did membership sales for 7 years. So I moved back to New York, 2012. Yeah, 2012. So like literally, I moved back to New York 2 weeks before Hurricane Sandy hit. And so I got a job back at a gym here in Manhattan and doing membership sales. And the first day was actually the day after Sandy. So it was October 31st. It was Halloween. So my first day of work there was like, I was like 4 hours late and took me like 3 hours to get there because there was no trains. And I'm like, why are you even still open? But that's another story. But yeah, so I worked there, and then I just started just going to different gyms, just finding like my niche or whatever. Like because for like sales, I mean, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but the position I was at, I just didn't like being in like commercial gyms because there's no real everything is very structured, so there's no real like identity within it. So I was just trying to find like private gyms. So I would just work at private gyms because I could do a little bit more and have more like of a say with what I do, because corporate gyms, you have hundreds of people doing the same position. So there's if you have 40 gyms, you can't change one gym for everyone. So I started to work my way through that, and then I did that for like 7 years, and then I got to this one gym where they had a lot of trainers that like independent trainers. And then I that's when I really started to get more into training myself. And then I just learned a lot from these trainers. Like, I mean, there's a couple gyms that I worked at. Like there was one gym, actually, the first gym when I first moved back to New York, I worked for Crunch, and Crunch is really good with training. So to sell it, we had to have every week we had to work with a different trainer, like do a session with the trainer. So that's what really got me into it, because I got to see different people's style. Because sometimes when you don't know about fitness, you just think it's one way. But when you see different every week, you see 10 different people do a workout with you, and they all different. You're like, I could really create something of my own here. So I started getting more like into fitness myself and started creating like my own workouts. And I mean, obviously people don't know, but I was overweight. Like I've been technically obese for probably like the first like 25 years of my life. But at this point, especially after college, because I wasn't playing basketball, it was like the heaviest I was. So I was like, I started to get into fitness myself. And then when I went to this other gym, I started meeting these trainers, and I just started to learn from them, like the business part of it. And then I had a business background, so I felt like, I was like, all right, I'm going to slowly try to get myself into this. Like, I'm going to take the test and all that. But I want to do this like from a different angle, because I've seen everything from both sides. So I was like, I knew what I wanted to do, what I didn't want to do. And then from there, I was like, I got to transform my body. And then I wound up losing like 35 pounds from there. Because I was like, first thing is I got to look the part, like can't be a trainer and be out of shape. I mean, you can. You
shouldn't be.
That out of shape that are very knowledgeable and very good. I know a number of them. But I mean, my mentality was, I can't be that. So
of course,
I wound up losing like 35 pounds and started going like crazy in the gym. And then that's when I just really fell in love with it.
What do you think? Because I feel like going on so many interviews, obviously being rejected for some, getting accepted for some, getting that experience. Was there a point where you felt, prior to you getting into the space, where we'll talk a little deeper into that, where you felt stuck or lacking purpose, or like it seems, a lot of people when they go on so many, they're defeated, so to speak. It seems like you continue to just do it. It was almost like I don't want to say like a game, but it almost, to go on that many interviews, I think it does take a certain, like, what was your thought, your mentality at that point?
I mean, obviously, when you're going to be defeated at times, like but I think for me, it was almost like a game. Like it was like a thing of me, like, like I know that I can do this, but I'm just gonna just work my way through it. I mean, and I think it all lined up the way everything lined up from after college to then. It all prepared me for it because for me to go to play overseas, most people have agents. I didn't have an agent, so I had to do everything on my own. So what I did was there's a website that has all the teams from every country. It's like probably thousands of teams or whatever. And I created a template or whatever, like my own resume, like basketball resume. And I sent my stuff out to like hundreds of coaches. Like, I mean,
Wow.
I got maybe like 3 back. I mean, I got like 3 or 4 offers back, but I sent it out to like hundreds and hundreds of coaches. And like the way I did it, I just didn't send it to any team. Like I narrowed it down to like, people that I knew that played, like where they are. And then like, if the league if one league had like other Division II players or low Division I players, then I would just email the entire team. I'll email the entire league. Or like if a league had like the worst teams, I would email them because they're more likely to get rid of the American players if you're at the bottom of the league than a team that just won, So like I was just going through a lot of like, a lot of stuff from that. And then that kind of took me to the next point, like of me going to all these interviews and getting some, but not getting a lot, that type of thing. So that mentality took me to that. And then I just think that I always had that, I mean, I think there was kind of like a competitive thing within it too, but I mean, I think that's where that really came from, was just like knowing that, like, even though I might fail a lot from this is going to be something that's there. And I think that's also helped me too with doing those interviews and all that, helped me with the sales part, because once I got into sales, it's a lot of people telling you no, like, so you got to get used to that. I was kind of used to that already. So all that kind of like played within itself. So
That's interesting. There's a level of perseverance there that is feels a little different, right there, because a lot of even not having an agent, emailing hundreds of people, doing all that grit work. I don't know if that's a New York grind thing, or if it's something that just instilled or you learned. It's not normal, right? And I will say that it's not a natural instinct to do what you've done in each level or each stage of your career up until that point. So that's definitely an interesting thought, like, because when you said and explained, it was like, yo, I just created this template and I emailed hundreds, and like that's not normal, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Usually in that there's a level of defeat, or a level of I don't know if it's uncertainty, like stuff creeps in, and it seems like it didn't really affect you long term too much at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like my mindset of going into a lot of things is if I know that I can do it, or it's going to happen at some point, you just gotta continue to do it. You just gotta put the effort into it. And I mean, I think that's that would kind of led to me like getting into my own business, along with like my family and stuff. Like my family, they're very business oriented. Like my dad had his own construction company when I was growing up. Like my grandmother, she had her own salon. Like she was like the first business person I knew. Like she had set up a business salon in Brooklyn, and then she moved to South Carolina and set up her own. So like I guess that part of it was always like put into me, like as a kid, like like you gotta keep going. But I also felt like I was, everything that I like really committed to, I was realistic with it first. Like I really looked it up, like, like I could do this, like it's not a stretch. It wasn't like I was like sending my stuff out to the NBA, or like to the Knicks, like, yeah, can I come through? Like, I was also being very realistic with myself too. Like also with college, like I knew that, I mean, I sent my stuff out a couple of times to like Villanova and all that, because I love those schools. But at the same time, I knew that I wasn't going to play for Villanova, but I knew I could play, like I knew I knew I could. I was better than Division III, but I knew I wasn't going to Duke. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like I think I've always been very realistic with myself when it comes to things. So when I do put my mind to it, it's like I know I could do it, because I've have a good thought of me being at this point.
So Crunch Gym, you started working with multiple trainers. It kind of set you up. You said, you know what, this is something that I can do, you know, that you started to draw interest in.
Mm.
And then you started to get to work. You started to lose the weight. You started to get in shape. And I'm assuming somewhere, you know, within months or years after that, you decided to take, you know, get the certification
Yeah.
to be a fitness trainer, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I got the certification and I was still doing sales for like maybe another like 2 more years. Um, I mean, one person that actually like one reason why I kind of got into a little bit more, like I said, I worked at this other gym where they had a lot of private trainers, and I met this trainer, Mark Jenkins, and he this is when I did sales, so he didn't even know that I was like even interested in training then, and he was like telling me the story of like how he just became like a trainer. So like I mean, people might know of him. He, when years ago when Diddy did the marathon, like
Mm-hmm.
he runs the city, that was
Yeah.
his trainer. So like he
Oh,
had a bunch of, so he used to bring like celebrities into the gym like to train them. Like, so I'm like, yo, like how did you get to he's from Brooklyn too. And he told like the story, he told us the story of like how he got into the position of where he's at, and started from like the bottom, literally, like living in the projects, Brooklyn, working, and then he saw like these dudes, I guess coming in that had like suits on, black dudes that came in with suits on. So he like talked to them, and he found out they worked for like the record label, and then things happen, and then he wound up working with a lot of different artists and all that stuff. And I mean that really like talking to him and a lot of different other trainers too, but that really was like I was like, all right, there's more to this, because a lot of people just think training is like as a side gig, like I have a job and then I go train after, or like, or I do it before work, but there is money to it, but not for everyone. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so, and I knew that, so I'm like, if I'm gonna get into this, I need to know like how to make this my business instead of like me having to work, another job while doing this.
so all right, so got it. So you didn't get into it till 2 years later. Were you then a trainer for a particular gym, or did you hop straight into your own business?
Well, I mean, I've always worked with different gyms. Even now, I mean, I have clients that, at gyms, but, I mean, for me, my main thing was I knew that I wasn't going to work at any, corporate gyms, or like box gyms, just because I knew what happened there. So like, I just knew how it worked. And I was like, all right, if I'm gonna do this, I know both sides of this, so I know exactly like how it works. Because I used to sell fitness. I used to sell personal training, so I had years of selling it before I even actually became a trainer. So like for me, I was like, I knew what gyms that I didn't want to go to, even if they did want me. I was like, no, I just can't do it. So coming into it, I always worked at private gyms, and then from there, I found ways to get like my own clients on sides, a lot of different ways of doing it. But I've always like worked in gyms, but mostly just all private, like privately owned.
Okay, so you're not with working with private gyms, you're not, I guess, pigeonholed, or I mean, I don't know how the big box ones go, but I'm assuming
Was a
that.
lot of quotas, and there's a lot more stress than they make it seem. It's like it's a lot. You got to hit a certain number. You have to, you have to do it a certain way. And my whole thing is I don't want to do it. That's why I want to do my own thing, because I don't want to do it your way. Honestly, I mean that's really why. That's really why. Because I mean I've worked in those gyms, and I've seen exactly like how it works. So most trainers, they start off in those gyms, because that's how you build your base.
Clientele, yeah.
And I did it a different way, which might not have been the best way, because I mean I think that's why I started out a little bit slower than others, but I felt like this is the right way for me, because I knew exactly how both sides are. So I was like, for the stress factor, I'd rather just take the long route than do it this way and then be stressed out.
Makes sense. So are you so now that you've kind of established your footing in the personal training space, you know, you started your own company, you know, you do work for like private gyms and have clients there. Uh the the majority of, at least that you've posted or that I've seen, the majority of your clients are older, and they're white. Just call it what it is, right? Which
Yeah.
isn't which is you know, when I look at something like that, I think about like, man, these are you know, more high-end clients than not. Um,
Yeah.
does that how is being a trainer, there's a relatability factor there that's really
Mm.
important, right? They got to know, like, and trust you to continue working with you. Was it difficult to create that relationship, knowing that you guys come from two different worlds, two different decades, right? Two different experiences. How were you able to relate with your clients and just relate with all your clients, considering the different variety of clients that you work with, to maintain that rapport?
I mean, I think I think a lot of that actually came from like doing the sales, because when you do sales, especially like the membership sale, I mean, there's different type of sales, but membership sales is all about like creating a relationship with that person. But you have to do it very quick. So, I mean, I was always really good at like just finding little things about someone and just being able to pinpoint that. I mean, for me, it's usually the clients that I have are mostly like in the areas that I train, or people that are very open minded. So it never really it's never really been like intimidation factor or something like that. I mean, there might be, but those people don't. I mean, with training, those people would never approach me. You know, if you feel intimidated by me, I'm a big guy, I'm a black guy, so it's like some people might be intimidated, some people might, and I get it, So it's like but those people will never approach me. I mean, I think for me, like most of my clients are over like, for the most part, they're like over 50 years old. And it's kind of weird how I got into that style, because when I first came to training, I'm thinking that I was just going to be training athletes. I mean, like my companies, I train athletes. Like that's what I'm thinking. Like, but then when I got into like working with different people, it's like realistically, older clients are better because they understand health more than younger clients. That's just because it's a real thing to them. Like their doctor told them, you got to go to the gym, or something like that. So
Mhm.
so that's how like I got into that, and also older clients are more likely to stay with you for a longer time. So like a lot of
Absolutely.
people that are younger, like 20s and 30s. I mean, I have
Mhm.
clients that are 20s and 30s. I mean, I also train kids too as well, like high school and elementary. So I mean, I've trained a huge age group. So I mean, I think that, but like clients that are usually in the 20s and 30s is all about, well, one, the mentality is I know what I'm doing, so why would I even pay? And also it's if I do train someone, not most, but a lot of people, they think like, it's for a purpose. So like my wedding is coming up in 6 months, so I'm gonna train for this, or I'm going to Jamaica and by the summer, so I need my summer body, but it's very seasonal. Whereas when you train like people that are doing it for health reasons, it's not seasonal; it's their life. So they want to train for you for years. So like as I got into the field more, I started to notice that, and I'm like, it kind of changed my like not niche, because people still train with me because I have an athletic style. Like I mean, even though I have clients that are like 40s or 50s, they're still pretty athletic. They still run, and so it's not like I'm training people that are like older. Like even like I've had clients that were like did a triathlon at 50. Things like that.
Nice.
Run marathons, play tennis, play basketball. So I mean, most of the clients, even though they are old, they're still very athletic. So that I still keep it within. I guess that's me just staying with my niche, I guess. So.
So when as you're building that relationship, as you're creating that, and again, you said obviously sales has helped with that. You're also very vocal on social media. I'm not sure if they follow you or not
Mm.
on social media. Sure, you're also very vocal about things that just don't make sense. That's the best way for me to put it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. When it comes to politics, when it comes to um, you know injustice, whether it comes
Mm.
to just anything in that space. Have you ever been, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but before I even get to that question, have you ever been either asked about it? Has your viewpoints been different than any clients? Have like what has any pushback, any reason for you to like, hey, I may want to watch what I say, because like how has that been?
So I've never had like any pushback, anything. I mean, I have been asked like stuff about like, like police brutality, things like that. But I mean, for the most part, most of my clients are very, very open minded. I mean, for them for them to spend the time and the money for training with me, even without knowing me, you would know like what I represent for the most part. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
so I'm not like I had anyone like, being like racist or anything like that, because I mean, you wouldn't ever choose me as a trainer if that was the case.
That's
But
true.
I mean, most of my clients are very like, I mean, a lot of my clients are very good. Like they're very on top of everything. Like they're the ones coming to me like, this is fucked up. This is like, and even like, I mean, even as white people, they know. I mean, the clients that I have, they're very aware of everything that's going on. So it's great for me because it's like I'm able to be myself, even though I would always be myself. But I mean, I also think that it's all the clients that I have are just very aware, like they understand, and I mean, I think that that's the best part, and that's also why I think that they choose me as a trainer as well, because they're like, I could be open with I could be open with you, because if you train with someone, you're there 2-3 hours a week. I mean, I hear a lot of stuff. People were telling me
Absolutely.
everything that's on their mind. So it's like, I mean, I think that's I think a lot of it is a lot of people, because they live in New York, they have a more open, they have a more broad mindset of how other people live. And I think if it was somewhere else, maybe not, like, but I think where I'm at, it's actually been pretty good. And I never really had any like anyone say anything where I was like, oh, I can't talk to you about this. Usually they're the one coming to me about it, because my whole thing is, I mean, as far as sessions go, like I'm gonna give my opinion, but I'm only gonna give an opinion if you ask, because you're paying me. So if you want to tell me whatever you want to tell me, you tell me. Like, you want to tell me about your wife, whatever. I have clients that like they're all about politics. So they just tell me about politics the whole time. But I mean, the politics that they are like the same stuff that I'm talking about. Like they hate, certain, the same stuff that I don't like. So it just worked out the same. And I guess that's why, because most of my clients that I do have, I've had them for years.
Good.
For the most part. I've had them for a
What
long time.
what why so vocal? I guess that's the question. There's a lot of things that you point out make sense. Some people keep it to themselves, maybe, barbershop talk, and you actually put it out into the world for people to see. Why so vocal?
I mean, I think for me is more of like a therapeutic type of thing. I don't know. It sounds kind of weird because it's social media, but I mean, I think like well, especially like my dad always tell us like, if you like stay what you have in your mind, like holding in doesn't do anything to you. It just hurts you more than anything, and it's as I also learned about like, start to learn more about like mental health and all that type of stuff, is like a lot of stuff that we don't say and we bottle in, it physically messes you up. Like it like not only is, obviously mentally, but it causes ailments, it causes, all that type of stuff. So like for me, saying this stuff is like, all right, this is like me letting it out and me letting it out there. And it's like also too, I mean, I think it's part of like, growing up. I mean, like we grew up where we grew up in Flatbush, and the schools that we went to, they were very like, I guess you would say pro black, right? Like I guess they're,
Yeah.
yeah, very pro black. So they really educated us on like what was really going on. So even as a young age, we always knew, like my parents always, told me like the truth of what's going on, and they allowed me to speak up about things. But long as I've had like some kind of facts, I'm just not saying anything. So I mean, I guess it's something that's just always been a part of me for pretty much my whole life. So
Yeah, I remember you one of the first things that I remember, you spoke about, they spoke a lot about defunding the police, right? And
mm,
people, there's a lot of misconception and things being misconstrued. Well, we need the police. And I remember you put some facts out where you said New York City Police Department spends, I don't remember what the numbers were, on like military grade, you know,
yeah,
guns and, bombs. And I don't remember what the numbers, maybe you remember them.
Mm.
And I was like, man, yeah, we actually probably don't need all of this stuff, right? Or not we, but the
Yeah, the
department.
city, yeah. I mean, I think for as far as I think the huge thing when it comes to like stuff like defunding the police or anything now, I think especially these times, I think people take the extreme of what they think it is. So like when most people hear, defund the police, they just think get rid of the police, which is not what defunding means at all. It just means taking some money away and putting it something else. And it's like the money that they put into like the police department is just for things that they don't necessarily need. And people also think that defund the police automatically means that getting rid of cops. And it's like that doesn't necessarily mean that either, because if you're really spending the money on the cops, they should be paid more if you're really using the money that we're giving you, So it's like it doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, we're just getting rid of the cops, because cops will still be they'll have the same number of cops even if you defund them. It just putting that money to something else. So like there's studies that say like, if you go in a neighborhood, like a neighborhood that might be considered a bad neighborhood, if you focus more on education and you build up the education there, then that will lead to less criminals. So then that means that you lead to less cops. So you won't need the cops if you put the money into education. Another reason why there's a lot of crime is because people are homeless. So if you put the money into homelessness, then there's no need for these people to do these crimes because they're homeless, because they're not anymore, which means that you need less cops. So overall, I think that like obviously we all need some kind of structure here, but two things with the defund the police is one, it's you could just share that money to put that money to other things. I mean, especially like education. Like I've worked in schools, and a lot of these schools are being defunded. Like they are defunding schools all over New York City, and it's like these kids they have to pay for after school programs, but they don't have the money. So now these kids are on the street, and what are you going to do if you're on the street all day? Like it's just not. It's just like a tunnel of different things that you could put your money into, and it would help the police department. And then also too with the police is what they're kind of doing now is just the training process is like make the training process a little bit tougher. If cops don't understand how to like deal with certain people with like illnesses, mental illnesses or mental health, then they should be taking these courses just like anyone else. Like I think that those two things that are like the biggest things as far as like the defunding process of police.
Is there something that you I mean, again, you're very vocal. It makes sense. Has there, or are you thinking about doing anything in terms of steps or like whatever it looks like to kind of help get some of the things you say out, maybe help with the youth? Like, is there anything that you're currently working on or at least thinking about to just really make this space and this place better overall?
I definitely always think about like different things of being able to connect with like especially the youth. And I've been able to do it through sports. So like I've worked with different kids in high school, college. College, high school, also like elementary school too as well. But I think for me, giving like my way of giving back would be more in the fitness field, because
Of
I
course.
think that's more of that's something that needs to be addressed too as well, especially these times now. And that's why I created like the programs that I created, like from like my online program, things like that, and like just finding ways to connect to more of the people in like the health and fitness tip, because I think that's something that's playing in the community too as well, and in the world itself, but mostly, especially like Black communities too. But as far as like stuff like the defunding, all that, I don't have, I never really thought of like stepping into like, a political field or anything like that. I've sent letters to like politicians and all that type of stuff, just because I just felt like I need to get, whether they read it or not, I just get certain things off my chest. So like I've done all that type of stuff, but it's like never really thought of like the next step for that. Or just for me, it's more like I feel like my lane where I'm comfortable now is fitness and sports. So that's like,
Absolutely. And using, I mean, and you can still do that and use your voice in a space. It's interesting because you have people that are, like you said, in the fitness fields, for example, where you have where you've carved out a niche and you've carved out clientele. Um, you know, you're able to, and then working with like the Brooklyn Nets Academy, I believe that's what it's called, the Brooklyn Nets
Yeah.
Academy.
Mm.
There's an impact there that you're having in that space, and I think it's huge because, uh, there's so many. It's at least in the health terms, there's so many food deserts, right? There's so many,
Yeah.
we in our time where we grew, we played outside, right? We played
Yeah.
ball, girls, double dutch. It's a little different times now.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily go out in the summer and see kids playing on the block like
Yeah.
we used to. So having that fitness space and that mentorship is huge. So I definitely see you, as you're working, you have your 50 and over clientele mostly, finding ways to come back around even with these inner city youth to provide, fitness, and then again give your own insight and perspective on things that make sense,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely something which you've been tapping into that, but I think that can be, beneficial even from a city space because there's
Yeah.
so many people that so many young people that need that especially. So
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it, I think about, like, just think of myself at that age. Like, if I had someone that was actually showing me how to actually work out, I think that would change my entire life. Like, that would change my entire life. I mean, a lot of people growing up, I mean, basketball is very big in New York. So we had the people teaching us basketball, but we had no one teaching us like how to work out or how to do a squat or, just simple things like that that we just know now. I feel like if I knew that when I was 16 or 17, then it would be totally different. Like I've worked with a couple different high schools in the city, like doing training. And it's like the stuff, I mean, obviously they've been working out, but like the stuff that they've learned, I've seen them use it, outside, and it's simple stuff, but at the same time, it's stuff that you can take along with you, and
absolutely.
and I think that's somehow some part of why sometimes New York City, this is off tangent, but why New York City kids sometimes lack when they go play like college or other places because they aren't really prepared for like the whole experience. They obviously understand the basketball because there's a lot of basketball here in New York, but
Of course.
they don't like my first college workout. I didn't know how to do a squat, so like little stuff like that it's I think it's kind of holding us back a little bit, and a lot of that is also because of the funding. I mean, that's why it's all connected. Like I've gone to schools with like the Nets Academy, and some of these places don't even have a gym, and they're like some schools don't even have a gym anymore. Like one place I went to, they had two classrooms. They put it together and made a gym. Like trying to make a gym, and it's like little stuff like music programs are gone. Like all the stuff that we had, like how we used to do like the little flute or whatever. Like they don't know, they're not doing any of that now. So it's like that's really what made me a lot more vocal as far as that stuff too, because it's like I've seen it firsthand when I go into these schools, and it's like, how don't you have a gym? Like, how don't you have a gym class? Like some places don't even have a gym class. So it's like, what are these kids doing to be active? Like they're not doing anything. So I mean, that's a lot of it too that I've seen, and then like having friends that are teachers and stuff, and hearing like they got to do a GoFundMe for a teacher. Like that should not happen.
Yeah.
And there should be this funding for that. You just got to take it from somewhere else and put it there. Like kids not having, like during the pandemic, you don't have enough money for laptops or whatever. So it's like, what are these kids supposed to do? Go outside, you know what I'm saying? And then when you're outside, it's during the pandemic, what are you likely to do? Something that's probably not going to be good. So it's like, it's all like a chain of everything, I feel like. And the same thing with food too. It's like, the food isn't good. Like you live in like a food desert and all that type of stuff. Or like, I mean, one of the things, there's multiple reasons of why I have like an online platform. And one of the reasons why I really created it, I mean, there's a few reasons why I have, but one of them is just to connect to people, so people could have like an actual way of working out without paying a lot of money. Because obviously, like, I mean, I charge a lot of money just because this is like my life. And
Absolutely.
yeah, but
As you should.
then that everyone can't afford like the price that I pay, and not only that, even if they could, it's like I'm only one person. I can't train everybody. So
Absolutely.
that's why I created this platform to like kind of bring people together. So it's like I could be home and it's a very affordable price, and you could be home and then you have your whole family work out together. You know, like I've had people where like they worked out with their kids, or you know, they worked out with their mom, you know, or something like that. You know, so it's like something where you could come in and actually like do something active without breaking the bank or even leaving your house.
So talk a little bit about your platform that you have now, and you know where people can find it.
So the platform, well, my website is itamovement.com, but the platform is the movement.fit. So it's THE and then dash the movement dot fit. And you can find it there. So what it is, it's an on-demand platform with various workouts. So it's a lot of it's workouts from anything from yoga to high intensity spin classes. There's workouts that you could do with or without equipment for all ages. So there's beginner stuff. There's more advanced workouts, and just there's like stretching classes, stretching routines, and the trainers on there for the most part are all either professional. They were either are or were professional athletes, or they work with athletes in some form. So that's like the niche of it is athletic training, but athletic training is for all ages, all levels. So there's very beginner stuff all the way to the more advanced. There's things that you could do with or without equipment. So like if you have bands, weights, or you could do it at the gym, you could take it to, so you could pull up on your phone at the local gym and pull it up from there. That's actually how that's one of the reasons why I started, because I've seen a lot of people doing that. And I was like, all right, that's a really good idea. So so it's the movement.fit at itamovement.com. And the way it works is like it's a $10 subscription a month, and you get various videos. You also get like a newsletter of different like tips, health tips, workouts, different things you could do on your own. And it's continuously growing, so there's always new workouts being added.
Good.
And so that's what I'm really been trying to push for the most part.
Is there like an app, or is it you just go online to us just to the ITA movement?
Yes, yeah. You would just go on the movement.fit. Well, that's the website. So it's the movement.fit. And
movement.fit.
When you go on there, it's you would just you subscribe and you become a member, and then you just sign in, and then there'll be a list of different workouts.
Okay. Nice. And you said it's not just you, it's a ton of different either former athletes or current athletes.
Yeah, so I mean, I created it, so I have most of the workouts on there. But I mean, I'm not an expert at every workout or every I'm not every workout, but I'm not an expert at everything. So like like the yoga. I have one of my friends that's a professional boxer, so he has like a boxing tutorial in there.
Nice.
Like we have a kettlebell class. Someone that does like a stretching routine, Pilates, those type of things. So like it's like the classes that I can't cover, I got other instructors to.
Nice, man. Yeah, I love it, man. And to kind of watch you grow from what it is that, from starting not knowing to having your own subscription-based model is really cool, man. So I definitely want to salute you and shout you out for that as well. Man, so I mean, I'll wrap this up. I don't want to go too much longer because I know we're pushing the hour mark now. So the last thing I want to ask is what is the plans? I guess we just we're coming out of a pandemic year, 2020, even into 2021. Normalcy is kind of going around the corner, maybe around the corner. What's the plans moving forward for the brand, for you, where you're trying to go and where you're trying to take it?
So I mean, the plan is always been to expand. I mean, for me, it's when I created this platform, it was actually I actually thought about this platform for years, and just from seeing seeing different other platforms. So the motto isn't new. Obviously, people have been doing it for a long time, but just having it, I actually worked for a company that did a similar platform, and they weren't paying me out, or they weren't paying people out. They're paying like cents for views. So like I would get a check for like $40 every 6 months, and that's when it really was like, all right, I could just create this on my own. And And then for me, it was just like finding the right. It took me years to find the right program to do it because it's a expensive. It's very expensive steps to take. So like it took me a while to finally figure it out. And then once I created it actually the end of 2019, and I dropped it the beginning of 2020, so January 2020. And not knowing that 3 months later, like COVID is going to come in and everything's going to go to online, which is kind of crazy. And it's like it was good and bad because I mean it was good because it spotlighted online fitness, which it was growing, but it was still kind of lost in the industry. So, but now it's very well known. Like it's the most known part of it now.
Dumbbells were like crazy expensive. Everything.
Like, I mean, it's crazy because it's like I started doing. I mean, one of the reasons why I started is because the main reasons why, because I had a lot of people that were asking me to do workout, like to send them workouts. And if I write down a workout or send it to you, if you don't know how to do it, it's not effective. So I was doing videos like, this is how you do a squat, this is how you do it. So, and I was like, I could just put this all together. And then I started working for that company they asked me to do the same thing, like put together like these short videos, like these short workouts. And then I was like, I could really do this. And then that's what really got me into getting into that, like, all right, I could do this for real. And once COVID hit, I was like, I felt like I was like, I foreseen the future because everyone wanted to do it. But at the same time, it got very competitive because everyone started to do it too. So it was like a plus and minus of it. But I mean, a lot of people have been asking, like, do you think it's still gonna be the same? And I think it definitely is, because there's still like, the Pelotons and everyone's doing it now. You just gotta find your way in, it's a lot of people getting it. So you just gotta find your way in, and that's where I'm trying to figure it out, but also know where I want to go with it. And I mean, for me, it's like I said before, really try to connect with like communities, because obviously, people they know of the Peloton, but they don't have a Peloton, or they don't understand the process of it. So I wanted to make this for one, like people in the communities. Like I wanted to, go to like a community center or an area where people don't really know too much about working out, and be like, you could just try this at home. You don't even have to come in, you don't have to come, because a lot of people are scared to come into gyms. It's just like they're intimidated by gyms. So you could try this at home, work your way up, and then there's workouts that you could do at the gym if you ever come in. And that's where I really want to just push that to like more community based, and then also more like the corporate side of it too, because I work with corporations doing fitness sales. So when I did the sales, I used to work with a lot of different like corporations, and I understand how like corporate wellness works. So I've been trying to like get more into that too as well. So taking that to the next point, because for me, I mean, it's still a business. So for me, it's, if I can get a business on board, it's a lot more lucrative than me just going out and getting 2 or 3 people,
Yeah.
And this might be the same amount of work, It's like, so like for me, it's I want to branch into that, like getting like more into like communities and also businesses too as well, because every business for the most part has a corporate wellness program, and they offer some kind of fitness to the employees, and I'm trying to get my name on the list, and that's what I've been trying to do. I mean, for the most part, that's where those are the 2 lanes that I'm really trying to go with it. And as far as like the physical aspect of training, I want to expand to like a more mobile service. So like being able to have classes, like not exactly have like a brick and mortar, for example, but have classes in various places. So like if I have a schedule up, you could train with me, in Park Slope, or you could train with me in Midtown Manhattan on certain days, and then have like a full schedule of where people could train. Like you could have yoga in the city, but that would be more once the city opens up a little bit more, because that was, I mean, the idea I had before, because there was always, I used to have classes in the city and in Manhattan, and there's people that, they might work in the city and go to class right after work, and then on the weekends they're home in Brooklyn and they want to go to class in Brooklyn, So I think those are the 2 lanes of where I want to go, a little more mobile with the physical aspect, and then more with the online aspect, that's reaching corporations and community-based programs.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. That's nice, man. I think that's a genius idea, especially getting into these corporations, these community centers. Like you said, it is a business. It definitely pays the best. So,
Yeah.
sweet, man. Well, I mean, first of all, thank you for just taking the time and just sharing your story, man. I think, from the beginning to end, being an athlete and creating ITA, I train athletes is phenomenal. And just having the app, having the app. So if you haven't, go to the movement.fit.
Yep, the movement.fit.
The
Or
movement.
everything's on itamovement.com, so you can meet like the trainers, all that stuff on there, like the different athletes that we have on the platform, all that stuff as well. And then also
Sweet.
I have like a bunch of other stuff. Like I have different like 4-week fat burner programs, things like that. So itamovement.com, the movement.fit is the actual platform though.
Sweet. So definitely check it out. Yo, next time I get you on, I definitely want you to talk about the actual process of what it looks like, because I'm sure you created the website yourself and did all of that. So just kind of finding that space is is important for business owners, right? To be
Yeah.
able to create the website and find these like the business acumen of it.
Yeah.
So definitely want to get you back on for like a 30-minute just to talk about that aspect of it, because you have to be, especially if you don't come originally with a lot of money, you have to be very intuitive and figure out certain things.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Mhm.
I'm definitely curious how you're able to do that, find these programmers, create this website, if you did it yourself, stuff like that, so to speak. 'Cause I think that's huge.
Thank you.
Uh,
I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me.
definitely, definitely, man. Any last or final thoughts or words for the people?
Well, I just want to thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I mean, I hope everyone finds their own way. I mean, I think sometimes when it comes to like finding a business, it's obviously the first thing is finding something that you love to do, because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of time. And for me, it was like I was doing something that I liked doing when I did sales, like at the gyms, but I didn't love doing it. And
Mhm.
when I started doing the training, it was something that I love. So like the hours might be more than I did before, but it doesn't feel the same way. Like I was coming home stressed before. I'm not really. I don't feel stressed out now. Like it's like it feels like it's something that I mean I have stress, like things stress me out, but I don't have the stress from work as much because it's just like this is something that I signed up for. This is it for me. So it's like I'm all in, and I think when you have that mindset, you're things tend to work out for you a lot more because I mean, like you talked about before, like I got fired from a lot of jobs, and every time I got fired, I knew that I was going to get fired because I just didn't put in the effort because I was just like, this is, my heart is not in it, and that energy translates to other people. They knew that too, and then that's why it happened. So it's like I think a lot of it is like when your heart is in it, people will attract to you, and it's got to be consistent.
Yeah, awesome, man. Awesome, man. Yo, man, I definitely appreciate it. We definitely have to get up. Thank you again for doing this podcast. I want to ask one final thing before I let you go for real. Um, the I don't even want to bring it to the next podcast, if and when we do it, but you know, how that intuitive nature of creating the website, of doing, those things, like how are you able to pull together and find these resources for different things? Was it just research? What did that look like?
A lot of it was just research, and I mean, I've done. I mean, especially during the pandemic, I did a lot of like different master classes, things like that. I mean, a lot of people think that those are like some of them are like a reach. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I mean, a lot of them. I mean, they do work. I mean, I had a lot of more time then, so I like a lot of stuff like the social media stuff. I had to look it up because how else would how else would you know? But a lot of it was like the research, like just always being on top of things. As far as like the fitness industry goes, I'm always like on top of the industry. So like I'm always on like Indeed. I'm always on, like looking at just to see, because you don't, I mean, it's a always changing industry. So you want to see what other people are doing. And I think that I think that's also the competitive part of me too as well. And it's like, I mean, it's just, in this industry, everyone can eat. It's a lot of money out there, but you want to make sure that you're on top. You're on top of everything. You know what your competitors are doing, and you know their price point. So you're not, if you're not setting a price that's too much or too little, so it's like that. I think a lot of that is comes from like just doing a lot of research and like on stuff on the back end.
Absolutely, man. Well, man, I definitely appreciate it. I appreciate the time. Definitely, if not, go follow ITA Movement, or is it ITA dot movement on Instagram? What is it?
ITA dot movement on.
ITA dot movement on Instagram. Um, and man, it's such an amazing journey that you have, and just your thought. You've done things your way, and I think that is like something to be said. A lot of people, as they create, they try to they conform or try to adjust. Like
Mhm.
everything you've done your way, and you started from the bottom. From just doing sales or front desk
Yeah.
to sales to what you're doing now. So definitely salute to you, man. Go check out the app, or the not the app, excuse me, the on demand
Yeah.
class that
The
you have.
platform.
We'll put that, yeah, the platform will put that online. Yeah, man. So thank you so much for your time, man. I definitely appreciate it. And you know, for the listeners who are listening in, man, definitely tap in, get your fitness on. I
Thank you.
appreciate you guys, man. Definitely, man. Appreciate you.